John, will this resolution make any difference on the ground in Gaza?
Gemma, no, certainly not for the moment. The situation on the ground in Gaza continues to be catastrophic. There's only really two things from my time in Israel that the Israelis really fear. They don't like resolutions from organisations like the UN, but they certainly would never want to lose the support of the US president. That's not going to happen because Donald Trump's a very strong supporter. And also the one thing they also fear is sanctions, financial sanctions, which I don't think Australia or France or these countries are going to go down that path, at least for the moment. In terms of on-the-ground humanitarian situation, UNICEF, the children's organisation, has calculated the numbers of deaths in Gaza, and they've worked out on their figures that every day since the war started almost 2 years ago, Israel is killing 28 children on average, which, as UNICEF says, Israel's killing a classroom of children a day. Now, in terms of those children, resolutions like this might certainly look to the longer term, but for the 28 children out there who on average are alive now but will be dead this time tomorrow, this resolution of course is meaningless.
The US remains vehemently opposed to this recognition of statehood. What are we expecting to hear from Donald Trump when he addresses the General Assembly?
Donald Trump's made clear several times his view on this. He often repeats similar lines that basically the hostages should be released first and foremost before any sort of consideration. His view is that Hamas should not be rewarded, that by doing this, countries like Australia, France and others are rewarding Hamas. In other words, Hamas could commit those atrocities on October 7, which were barbaric, of course, what they did to a lot of those Israelis at that Nova Music Centre, for example. I've seen a lot of the photos which were not published, were absolutely horrific. Donald Trump's view is that a resolution like this simply rewards Hamas for that. And I think we'll hear him say that, yes, the two sides need to come together. The hostages have to be released first and Hamas has to de-arm. I think that will be President Trump's main message tomorrow.
Finally, John, the White House has outlined which world leaders that the President expects to meet with on the sidelines there. Is our Prime Minister on that list?
No, he's not on the list. A few hours ago, Caroline Levitt, the President Trump spokesperson, released a list of some of the world leaders who President Trump will be meeting here over the next day or two. It includes, for example, the leader of Argentina, which I thought was interesting, that the Prime Minister of Australia cannot get a one-on-one meeting guaranteed with President Trump, but the leader of Argentina has. I think it's becoming a serious issue. I think it's starting to become a real question about why this is happening, as if Donald Trump couldn't put aside 15 or 20 minutes for the leader of what's meant to be a great ally. After all, we are paying hundreds of millions of dollars to the Americans for submarines under AUKUS that we may never even see. Now, I think my interpretation is that if the meeting does not go ahead, it looks like it won't. Either it's a snub, there's something deliberate there that President Trump has a reason why, or those people around him, why he won't meet Prime Minister Albanese. It's either a snub, or I think the only other interpretation is Australia's just not that important. We're not on the list of the top 20 or 30 priorities. And if that's the case, that too, I think, is quite serious.